friends, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to come to you today to continue the discussion on MK Ultra. I wanted to give you a very broad spectrum example of how the government, business, and media use MK Ultra techniques and brainwashing on a larger scale than just an intended specific single target. And this is something that you have likely been a victim of. This is a form of brainwashing that I feel like everybody has experienced before. And if you haven't, you probably have heard somebody talk about this. And the level of awareness of the spirit realm, of the metaphysical, and of the occult informs people's reaction to this MK Ultra brainwashing. And most people will not even understand that it is brainwashing. Now, I know you've heard people say, anytime I say the name of a product or talk about something in front of my phone, I get an ad for that product a few minutes later. Now, a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, I don't know if that's a coincidence, if it's just magic or whatever, or if the phone is actually watching me. And then another one of their friends or something, person B, will say, obviously, the government is watching you. All of the technology that's inside of a cell phone is former CIA technology. The phone listens to you because it is listening to you so that Siri can work, so that Alexa can work. It is definitely watching you because it has a camera, and it's definitely listening to you because it's a phone. And it's also something that has been produced by the government for blah, 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 right? They'll go off on a tangent. And then person A calls person B a conspiracy theorist. Person A wants to believe that it's just a coincidence, maybe. Or person A doesn't want to believe that the government would do such a thing. Or person A just really doesn't want to think about something that heady. And so they think person B is overreacting. They think person B is doing the most. They're a tinfoil hat person. They're a conspiracy theorist. They're crazy, but they're actually not. Person B is right on the pulse of what is going on. But the problem is there are too many people on both sides who are willing to dish out and accept the BS. And that is why it continues. But it is very obvious that the phone is listening to you. Try this. Watch a YouTube video on your phone and then walk away from the phone. That is when YouTube will play the ad. Because the phone knows when you're by it. Remember when they first came out and they had that thing where if you put the phone away from your ear, it would turn on or turn off, it would do something like that? The phone tracks your movement. It tracks your movement. It listens to everything you're saying. Alexa is a wiretap that is attached to Google. Google and the people who made wiretaps got together and made a system where you could ask Google through a wiretap to answer questions like a search engine. And they call it Alexa and they call it Siri. This is common knowledge once you open your eyes. The veil is already lifted. And a lot of times they will admit this. The CIA and the FBI will admit that the technology is old stuff that they used to use to spy on other countries, right when they put the stuff out. And people have a tendency to forget. But the point is, society wants for people who call things like that out to be labeled as subversive at the very least. But they want them to be labeled as crazy or extremist. But it's not extreme. It's exactly what's going on. And on the other side of the coin or the spectrum, you have people who are extremely out of touch with reality and want to pretend like that could be actually just a coincidence. It's absolutely not a coincidence. The phone comes equipped with a camera and a microphone that are working at all times. And if you want to diminish the voice of somebody who is telling you the truth like that, you are no better than the offenders. That is an MK Ultra Monarch program. So in this case, the intended target is not someone who ended up on the government watch list for saying something that somebody didn't like. It is anyone who has a cell phone who is a possible consumer of goods and services in the capitalist marketplace. And so they want you to be suggested the idea of a particular product once you mention an item or something like that. They don't want you to know that they are doing it. And if they do want you to know they're doing it. They want it to be very subtle. They really do want you to think that the idea is coming from yourself, just like the movie Inception. And they also want it to be a question of whether or not it was a coincidence. This is how they play on the spiritual part of it. They want you to think that there is some sort of cosmic synchronicity that is telling you to buy this item, when it really is just a bunch of government agents who have set the algorithm to a certain parameter. And it's really interesting because there are people who will want to live in that fantasy world where they think it is a suggestion from, something magical. And then there are the people who want to bring those people out of that world. And then there are people who hover in between it. And those are the people who are the most easily led, because those are the people who love the fantasy movies. Those are the people who are willing to Netflix and chill. Those are the people who consume. And those are the people who are most easily brainwashed because they are the most susceptible to group think. So that is how they target a group with this programming. And then if somebody does not conform to the programming, they will then target that individual with the same programming that has been tweaked specifically for that individual, which is what happened in the case of myself. And it is really just very simple, rudimentary things like a specific word or a specific color or whatever it is, or something that they know that will trigger you. So in the case of you and your cell phone, they obviously know that whatever you have just mentioned is going to be a trigger. And trigger doesn't always necessarily mean something negative. It just means it's going to have something click in your head. And they want this trigger to send you to the store to buy their product. This phone is really messing up. And so that is all I have to say for right now. I will be back.